All right. Hello and welcome to the weekly wrap with the USA Liberalists. I'm Cody and I'll be your host today. Joining me today is Jordan.
Technically also a host, but that's okay. A little
Yes.
devalued. That's fine.
Nope. We're still working it out. So you're a host. We're both the hosts, and sometimes we have guests.
Yeah.
So today we will be covering a little bit about Professor Peter Boghossian at Portland State and see what that university is trying to do to him. Some of the craziness with the new Democrats in Congress, and we'll also talk about Trump's address to the nation and the meme-worthy response to it, and a few other things that might come up. But so we're going to start out with Peter Boghossian. Did you read anything about this?
Yes. Like
Yeah.
the whole Peter. I've actually been following the Peter Boghossian thing for a while.
Me too.
Because that was that whole thing was fucking hilarious. Like honestly, that was the most beautiful trolling I've seen in quite a while.
It was awesome.
It's next level trolling. I've never seen a professor go that hard. That's amazing.
Well, for me, he's a local guy. It's like
Yeah, that's
badass.
right.
I've seen him. I've listened to him speak a few times, and he always comes across as very forward and like not afraid to say what's on his mind, and he doesn't back down. And like I appreciate that.
Those are bad traits for keeping your job at a university.
Well, hopefully they shouldn't be though.
I mean, well, yeah,
It
shoulda, coulda,
is.
woulda, but here we are.
It is, but it shouldn't be. So.
Yeah.
Let's see, what did he do? So he was the guy who did
Besides, getting Mein Kampf published. Besides that,
yeah, that makes him sound like super all right.
No. Okay,
He got
fine.
Mein
We
Kampf
can click.
published. Nazi. See? Nazi.
Well, who's really the Nazi? The person that published it, or the person that asked them to publish it? Really, no.
Well, yeah. Is it the journal that approved it, or was it the guy that submitted
Well,
it?
I mean, that was the point of the whole experiment, right? Because like the whole Nazi thing, he was just like he literally took out all the references to the Jews and shoved in intersectionality and white people are the enemy and that sort of thing. Yeah, and that nearly got through, but it didn't get through because it was from the perspective of a white person. So, yeah. But that was the whole point of his entire experiment. That was like the general thought process behind it. It's like, what's the craziest shit I can put on paper? As long as I use the right ideological words, what is the craziest shit that I can get published?
Yeah, that was basically his whole thesis was like, what can I get published as long as we use the buzzwords?
Exactly.
And
Turns
and
out pretty much anything.
are they going to double check it to make sure we actually did this? And one of his pieces was up for an award. I don't know if you heard that. It was the one that he
Yeah,
did
it was
on.
like excellent scholarship. Was it the one with the dog balls?
Yeah, it was the dog park. It was the dogs humping.
Yes, that's
At the
because
dog park.
didn't he claim that he sat there and measured dog testicles?
Well, they reviewed the genitalia of over 10,000 dogs or something like that, and found that there's a correlation between dogs humping at the dog park and rape culture or something like that.
Ah, yes.
And it was like, award, give this man an award.
He's exposed the rape culture among canines. Put them all down. Put them all down immediately.
No way, man. Man, I love my dogs. I love my dog. Dogs.
Don't you know dogs perpetuate rape culture, sir?
Dogs did nothing
Fuck's
wrong.
sake.
It's okay to be a dog.
Dogs rape everything. Have you seen the pillows?
Well, yeah, but maybe those pillows deserved it.
Did anyone see what those pillows were wearing?
Right. Nothing. They were just laying there exposed. But anyway, he published these papers under, I guess, the heading, generally speaking, of grievance studies.
Pretty much,
So he
yeah.
published papers in like women's studies, journals, gender studies, ethnic studies. Basically any of those social justice warrior disciplines.
Now they're trying to claim they were scammed. They were scammed by the incredible intellect that is Peter Boghossian.
Yes. Really, they're just mad that they got fooled, and
I
then
mean, like
it went
they
public.
weren't scam. Like you're the one. How is he supposed to do that? You guys fucking accepted it on the basis that he was saying feminism good. If that's
Right.
all he has to do, he literally can't scam you. You scammed yourselves.
Yeah, and like it just exposes the lack of, I guess, credibility and like
Oh, it's completely
verification.
corrupt. Yeah,
Yeah, the
it's completely
corruption
corrupt. Yeah.
in these disciplines. Um, and
Like
of
anyone
course,
that says the right things, they don't give a shit if you're a professor. They don't give a shit if you're a student. What the fuck ever. If you will like signal to us that you're on our side, we will publish anyone. We don't give a shit.
well, yeah, it's the whole what is it? Believe all social justice warriors or something like
Yeah,
that.
believe all women. Orange man bad. Yeah.
Right. As long as you talk about the religious tenets correctly, you are one of the faithful.
Yes, pretty much.
And he does talk about social, like the social justice warrior ideology, for lack of a better term, as like a religion. He does talk a lot about that. Now I went to Portland State University, and when I was there, I graduated in 2000. Oh man, 2008, and it wasn't this bad. Was it 8 or 7? Anyway, it was right around 8-7. Um, the social justice warrior culture hadn't taken over the campus yet. Like I remember having a guy in the park blocks who was like one of those Christian preacher guys,
Hmm.
the annoying kind, and he would
Gotcha.
hold a sign and like preach the gospel and like loudly, and like 99% of the people just kind of ignored him and let him do his thing, and nobody really cared. um, I heard like one of my professors had like a snide remark about it one day because he was being really loud, and she didn't like. I mean, she was a progressive and didn't like it,
Hmm.
and it wasn't terrible. It was just like, I wish like they wouldn't let him be so loud out there. Um, and the only other thing that came close to something like that was my sophomore year, and it was when President Bush got elected for the second time, I believe, or whenever there was the big
Okay.
Florida debacle. Um, anyway, the teacher canceled the lesson because Bush got elected, and we all sat in a circle and talked about how it made us feel. And there were
um,
people in the class like bawling, like crying their eyes out. And one lady said that George Bush is gonna invade Iran and bring back the draft, and all the people here are going to get drafted. And I was like, what? I was like 19 at the time. And I'm like, I'm the draft age. Like I never heard about that.
right.
And it never happened. But like other than that, it was pretty much normal. Like we stuck to um, regular curriculum. Like I studied English, and so I was in the humanities, in those disciplines that have been corrupted, and it wasn't this bad. Like people weren't trying to kill each other, basically, or destroy each other's lives. Um,
Wouldn't that be fucking nice?
but now the institution, Portland State, is trying to bring disciplinary action against Professor Boghossian
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
under the auspices of a breach of the institution's ethical guidelines.
Well, I thought didn't they like accuse him of basically fraud, as I
Yeah,
understood it?
they accused him of pretty much making up data, which,
Well, I mean,
like, technically speaking, he did, but
they're reaching like
right,
that's
he
like
didn't publish
yeah,
those articles like to actually make a point. Like he did publish the articles to make a point. He didn't publish the article to make the point the article was making. The point he was making was to
right.
expose the corruption. And then they're trying to also say something like, well, he didn't tell the or he didn't disclose to the editors of the journals that he was doing this, and it's like a
Well,
human, like a
yeah,
studies violation or something like that. Like, you have to like tell them
that was
afterwards or something like that after the study.
kind of the point.
Right. Well, like, he didn't say afterwards, but I guess it got
But
out. Like,
I
they would
mean, I was
know
about to say he kind
afterwards.
of did though. Like he told
Yeah,
everyone.
they're very much grasping at straws for sure. Um, I know that some of the people who came to his defense, Richard Dawkins is one of them.
That surprised me because Richard Dawkins has been like a little wishy-washy in recent years.
Yeah, but I think he was. I think he can see like this sort of writing on the wall, and I don't.
Yeah.
To me, like, as someone who is more right leaning than left leaning, uh, the way I see Richard Dawkins is that, like, I don't agree with him all the time, but I can respect him. Like,
Sure.
he's a smart man. Like, he knows what he's talking about. He's thought his ideas through, and he is probably right on some of them, and I think he's wrong on some of them. But I can still, like, he can still have that conversation, and that's, I think, what most people will appreciate. But you get the outrage mob coming by, and um, but I thought it was pretty funny. Dawkins compared the administrators of Portland State University to the duplicitous pigs in George Orwell's Animal Farm.
That I appreciated. Yeah.
um, and I hadn't read Animal Farm until like last year, like the whole thing. I knew about it. I knew the references. I read part of it probably in high school. I hadn't actually sat down and read the whole thing, and I was like, whatever, I'll read it. Pulled up a PDF online, read through the whole thing in the day, and was like, wow, like, it makes so much more sense. And he totally nailed it. Like, they're like, these are the rules unless we say they're not the rules, and then, you know, four legs good, two legs better. um, but I have a quote from him. And he said, my first response on reading the punitive investigation into Peter Boghossian's brilliant hoax, and I like that, brilliant hoax, um, was to let out a howl of incredulous mirth. Right? Because that's the correct response. Like, that shit's funny.
Yeah. Pretty much. Hey, give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Sure. And he said, quote, do your humorless colleagues who brought this action want Portland State to become the laughingstock of the academic world, or at least the world of serious scientific scholarship, uncontaminated by pretentious charlatans of exactly the kind Dr. Boghossian and his colleagues were satirizing? And so he's just calling out, like, the administrators, making sure that, um, like, they need to learn to take a joke. And I think everybody could learn to take a joke. Someone makes fun of you, like, laugh it off, because you come out looking better that way. Like, you can take a hit, and I know guys joke around that way a lot. Like, um, and Jordan
What's
Peterson
going on? But
talked
yes,
to
we do.
yes, Jordan Peterson talked about it too. It's a way of, like, how guys test each other is they'll poke each other and tease each other, and if you get angry and mad and upset, and they'll just keep doing it because they want to see if you can hang with the guys. Like, can you help provide?
Yeah.
Um, so if you can just roll with it, laugh, dish it out as good as you get it, it's fine. But if you get all upset and, like, go tell mom,
Yeah.
then they're just going to keep doing it. It's not going to fix anything. So when I read the article that I was looking at, it said they were unsure if he was punished or reprimanded. But PSU did release a statement and said that the matter had been resolved and that he'll remain on the faculty. Now, I don't know if that means they're just kind of like gave him a slap on the wrist. I haven't seen him and his group publish any videos describing what happened yet. Maybe in the next couple days. Yeah, he wanted to bring the camera in to the reprimand, but they wouldn't let him. So
I would have insisted. Fuck that. No.
he should have Lindsay Shepard their ass.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
Sneak in a recorder.
Like I'm really tired of these like administrators hiding behind closed doors and like leaving it so difficult for anyone to find out what's actually happening. Fuck you. What's the problem with like everyone hearing this? Like it's already all on the table anyway. What are you hiding?
Right, it's already out there, and by hiding it, you're just making it more interesting, and you're getting more people wanting to know what happened. But the paper that they looked at, apparently they only looked at the dog park paper, which was the one with rape culture through the study of dogs in Portland parks, which Portland is like super dog friendly. We have lots of dog parks. We love our dogs.
That's fair.
And it was published in the journal Gender, Place, and Culture, and won an accolade for excellent scholarship.
So
I don't know.
dumb.
Did you watch the video when they first announced this stuff?
Oh yeah.
Oh man, like when they read it out, they were dying laughing. Like
these folks were so proud of themselves. It was amazing.
I mean, I'd be too. Like that's a huge deal to kind of like expose that sort of corruption. You know, it's like you don't have to actually do any scholarship. You just have to say the right words. And
yeah, in this particular instance, I would suggest that not doing the scholarship was actually part of the test.
Right. I would agree. Where'd you go? Jordan Peterson also came out and supported Peter Boghossian, and so did Gad Sad. I watched his YouTube
I'd be shocked
video.
if they didn't, honestly.
Right. I don't know if any other big professors came out and showed their support, but Jordan Peterson wrote like a 2-page letter. I'm not going to read the whole thing because that would probably be boring. I can give you a quote.
All right, quote me.
That was in the article. It's a little long, so we can cut it up.
It is Jordan Peterson.
Right. He's got to be precise. I love him, but man, like I wish I could be that precise all the time. He said, from my perspective, any academic misconduct in scare quotes that is occurring is being perpetuated by those who are raising and pursuing the allegations, and most certainly not on the part of Dr. Boghossian. Dr. Boghossian and his colleagues, like Alan Scull before them, did the academic world and the broader community that surrounds it a great favor by pointing out the embarrassing nakedness of the emperor. The fact that he is now being pursued by your institution for academic misconduct is nothing but further proof of the absolute corruption characterizing the very disciplines he so rightly satirized, pilloried, and exposed. I'm like, damn. Right on, man. Like, he's just got a way of saying things where you're like, if I were smarter, I would have said it that way. I particularly like, I didn't know who Alan Scull was. I think he did publish, because this had been done before, where they published.
I thought Scull was one of Boghossian's friends.
Yeah, they are. There was a quote from him too, but I didn't pick it out of the story. like the whole last half of the story. And you guys can find the stories that we're referring to in the comments section. This one, I believe, is from the Washington Times. But I think Alan Skoll, he wrote an article about, I don't know if he wrote it or if he wrote a program that wrote an article using social justice warrior language and actually got it published. I think that I'd have to double check. Like, don't quote me on that, but I think that's kind of what he did.
I think I've heard of that before too, so I'm believing it, but I kind of want to look into exactly what it wrote.
Yeah, we can look it up.
Because I'm genuinely kind of curious what in the world. Like, I know that we're not talking about the brightest group of people, but like, come on.
Well, to me, the whole like social justice warrior community, I call them the progressives or the regressives, or so I use those terms interchangeably.
Progressive sounds right to me.
The Skull Affair. Let's see. It was in 1996.
Oh wow, that's been a minute.
He was curious to see whether the then non peer reviewed postmodern cultural studies journal Social Text would publish a submission which flattened the editor's ideological I can't say that word for some reason. Preconceptions. Skoll submitted a grand sounding but completely nonsensical paper titled Transgressing the Boundaries Towards a Transformative Hermeneutics of Quantum Gravity.
That's the title's nonsense.
Right. And then he said, after holding the article back from earlier issues due to Skoll's refusal to consider revisions, the staff published it in the Science Wars issue as a relevant contribution. Soon thereafter, Skoll then revealed that the article was a hoax in the journal Lingua Franca, arguing that the left and social science would be better served by intellectual underpinnings based on reason. It was front page news on the New York Times in '96. Well, that was a while ago. Like this, I get this has been going on for a long time.
How these institutions still, have anyone supporting them just baffles me when that sort of thing happens on a fairly regular basis, because it shouldn't be the case that there should be two like academics 20 years apart doing the exact same thing and getting the exact same results when it comes to this kind of thing against the exact same group. There's a problem there.
Yeah. Here's a quote from him. He said, but why did I do it? I confess that I'm an unabashed old leftist who never quite understood how deconstruction was supposed to help the working class. And I'm a stodgy old scientist who believes naively that there exists an external world, that there exist objective truths about that world, and that my job is to discover some of them. It's like, right on, man. Like,
damn, all right.
He would be internet famous now.
Seriously, yeah.
He was the precursor. I guess I had to look into him a little more, but he came out in support of Peter Boghossian because they kind of did the same thing,
Yeah.
But that was in the '90s. I mean, I
think it's time for Stoll to make a comeback.
Right. Hopefully he's still alive. I should check that. Yeah, he's still alive.
I was about to say, didn't you just say he came out in support of Boghossian?
Yeah, that's true. He's 65 or 63. So he should run for president.
The way you were describing it, I thought this man was going to be like 90.
Yeah, no, I was surprised. He is younger than I thought, but like that's the kind of leftist, and this is from like a right wing perspective, that I could totally like get on board with or get along with. That I know he's not going to just call me a Nazi because I'm not of the same political party he is, or I have different opinions. But he's just going to ask me questions, or he's going to, debate me on different parts of what I believe. And like, I believe that's useful. Like if I'm saying something totally stupid and wrong, I want to know about it so that I don't sound like a fool.
And I think most people on the left would be like, yeah, we'll tell you. It's like, yeah, but your ideas are fucking stupid too.
Well, they'll not only tell you, but they'll attack you with it.
Yeah.
They won't then like tell you why. They'll say your ideas are stupid. I need to read that book, The Coddling of the Intellectual of the American Mind. I need to read that. I haven't done that yet, but
Well, we've somehow managed to simultaneously breed a generation of kids that are both just narcissistic and useless.
right. They've been coddled and then they've been told to have like all the self-esteem in the world.
Way too much. Holy shit.
And the problem is that it's unearned. Like self-esteem is great, but it's unearned self-esteem.
Yeah, you need to be able to back it up with something.
So one of the crazy ideas they have is getting rid of the Electoral College. Did you read anything about this?
That was a better transition than I was expecting. There you go.
Hey, man, I'm getting good at this.
Oh, it's improving. No, I liked it. Let's see. Yeah, the Electoral College. Yeah, apparently the Democrats have decided that the Electoral College needs to go. Wow, the thing that's like our main opponent needs to be abolished? Whoa, no way.
I keep losing my notes.
Yeah, it's really. Is anybody shocked that the second the Electoral College turned against the Democrats, they want to abolish it?
Right. That's that, and I've known about this National Popular Vote Interstate Compact. I've known about this for like a year now because we've tried to pass this into law in Oregon a couple times, and it's never made it past the people. Because we have a law that I'm sure that the Democrats thought was awesome when it was first put on the books, where like big things have to be put on the ballot so the citizens can vote for it.
Right.
And now it's just like blocking like gun control measures and this like attempt to get rid of around the Electoral College. I'm like, dang right. So it was Tennessee Democratic Representative Steve Cohen, and he wants to amend the Constitution to abolish the Electoral College. I'm not a lawyer. Like I wrote down what his proposal reads. I don't really get it, so I'm going to read it, and then maybe we can figure it out. But it says, each state shall appoint in such manner as the legislature thereof may direct a number of electors equal to the whole number of senators and representatives to which the state may be entitled in the Congress, but no senator or representative or person holding an office of trust or profit under the United States shall be appointed an elector. I'm like, that sounds like what
That's just a very long-winded way of saying that senators and elected representatives can't be electors.
Right. That just sounds like, isn't that kind of like what we already have?
Yes.
So I don't understand why that would necessarily abolish the Electoral College.
Because it's describing how we determine electors. It's like beginning that process. So if you get rid of the process to assign electors, you have in effect destroyed the Electoral College.
Right. He did say later that he wanted to get rid of the Electoral College. He said that in a press release that more than a century ago, we amended our Constitution to provide for the direct election of U.S. senators. It is past time to directly elect our president and vice president. Now you can think that was a good idea or not. I don't think we should elect the president and vice president through popular vote.
Well, no, like this is something that no one seems to appreciate, but At least not if you live in a city, because it benefits you, sort of. Yeah, effectively that creates a situation where the only votes that matter are basically in like Houston, LA, and New York City.
Yeah.
And everyone else can just fuck off.
Yeah,
So,
pretty much.
yeah, like I'm not. I know it sounds a whole lot like saying, some votes just count more than others, but yeah, kind of. Look, if you're like a farmer that's like actually providing value for thousands of people over the course of your work every year, as opposed to a barista at Starbucks, um, yeah, I do care more about what the farmer thinks, honestly. I need
Right.
like I need him getting what he needs.
Well, yeah, like a simple majority isn't always the best,
Right.
Um, and it gives a lot, like it takes a lot of states, it takes away a lot of their say. Like they already don't get very much say in the Senate. No, yes,
Yeah.
dang it, I always confuse those two. And the House, they all get equal say. They all have 2 representatives in the House, or is it the other way around? I
I
think
think it's
that's
the other
right.
way around.
Other way around. But one of the chambers, every state has equal say, and then the other one, it's more by population. So like California will have way more senators than say senators, congressmen.
Do I need to look this up right now?
I need to go back to high school. Apparently, they don't teach you anything at Portland State. So if you're listening in the Portland area, avoid that institution.
Fuck's sake.
But yeah, when I wrote a blog post based on this National Popular Vote Interstate Compact.
Yes, Senate is the one with the set number of senators.
Okay, that's what I thought. I knew it
Which
all along.
you had me like questioning it too. I was like,
I
fuck.
was just testing you,
Oh, sure you were.
and you passed. But when I was doing my research for my blog post on the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact, the NPVIC, it doesn't really abolish the Electoral College. Like they like to tell people that, like, oh, we're promoting the popular vote for the president, and it's like they kind of are, and they're kind of not. What it really does is it overlays the top of the system another layer of bureaucracy. And what that does is that once they reach, it doesn't go into effect until they reach 270 electors. So they have to get enough states to get 270 because that's how many you need to elect the president. And once they get that many states to sign on, this compact will go into effect. And then those states will give their electoral votes to whoever wins the popular vote. So it doesn't really abolish the Electoral College.
It basically just codifies what the Electoral College already does.
Right. And my point that I was trying to make to people was that when it was on the ballot here in Oregon, was that when Bush ran the second time, he won the popular vote. So how would you feel that everybody in Oregon who voted for Al Gore, all their votes would not have mattered because we went to Gore. All of our electors would have went to Bush. Like, is that something that you want? Like, if everybody in our state, like 100% of the people that are of voting age voted for one candidate and the other candidate won the popular vote, none of our votes would have counted for anything under this comp. I know it's a little bit extreme, but that's the logical conclusion. Like, that could possibly happen under this sort of agreement.
Yeah, but what it really sounds like is he's basically just playing word games. Where it's like, we're getting rid of the corrupt electoral college where the electors can do whatever they want, and even though they hardly ever do that. We're just going to make them do it. So cool. It changes almost nothing.
Right.
Like it sort of messes with it, but not really.
Yeah, and I'm not even. I mean, this isn't going to go anywhere. You need like 3/5. You need like a super majority in order to get a constitutional amendment passed, and they're nowhere near that. Like, even I think you'd have Democrats like dissenting from this. These are like the far left people.
True.
But this NPVIC, there's already 12 states that have this as law right now.
The compact you're talking about?
Yeah. And they're only 98 electoral college votes short of the 270. I think it's like California, New York, and a couple other like Midwest states, maybe Colorado. I didn't write them all down. I guess I could look, but they're trying to pass this. They're trying to get this through like secretly. Like, I don't hear anybody talking about this. The only reason I know about it is because they tried to pass it in Oregon like 3 or 4 times, and then I got linked up with a group called like Protect Your Vote, and they're like working to oppose this. And they have like a national Facebook page and like local chapters and stuff like that, and you can get involved.
That's cool.
But it's kind
of Protect Your Vote.
Yeah. They did, in the article that I read, they did quote a lawyer, Tara Ross. She's a lawyer and author of Enlightened Democracy, The Case for the Electoral College. She wrote that America's election system has operated smoothly for more than 200 years because the Electoral College accomplishes its intended purpose. America's presidential election process preserves federalism, prevents chaos, grants definitive electoral outcomes, and prevents tyrannical and unreasonable rule. The Founding Fathers created a stable, well-planned, and carefully designed system, and it works. And I think she's like right. Like, it's worked so far. Why do we need to get rid of it? Just because an election didn't go your way?
Yeah,
it's really orange man bad.
Like, seriously, if only there hadn't been an electoral college, we would have had Hillary for president.
Our democracy's broken.
Because we didn't allow the presidency to be fucking decided by LA exclusively.
Pretty much.
Like, Jesus Christ, guys.
Yeah, they're just mad that they don't get their way.
Seriously.
There were several other like crazy proposals. I didn't look into this too much, but like the new Green Deal from She Who Shall Not Be Named.
Yeah, She Who is not getting any extra media coverage from us because fuck her.
And they want to end the use of fossil fuels in 12 years. And it's like, well, the only way you're doing that is if you start like imprisoning people who drive cars, and that's pretty much everybody. So fuck off.
I'm looking forward to like the first instance where they actually try and take it. It's like, you'll take this gasoline from my cold dead hands, and just chugs it.
Just sets it on fire. Take it now.
Starts chanting. It's like, you'll never take my oil. As you're just burning to death.
Well, we're going to start seeing people saying stuff like, well, I worship my car and it's my religion, and so I need to be able to drive it, so I'm exempt from this. I would actually...
There's plenty of dudes that I think actually could have a justifiable case for worship.
That could pull that off. Yeah, I know a few of those guys.
Have you seen the state of my car's tailpipe? I worship it all right.
Gross. So yeah, that was really all I had for the getting rid of the Electoral College. We can get into the news of the hour, so to speak. The
News of the hour.
address. Trump addressed the nation on border security.
Yes, he did.
And the Jim Henson presents the response by the Democrats. So with Trump's address, I didn't find anything particularly crazy about it.
Well, he seemed to stick, from what I saw of it, because I didn't watch the whole thing, but from what I saw of it, it seemed like he stuck mostly to just straightforward, this is what's going on, here's what I want to do, I buy it. Like,
yeah, he said like there were 266,000 arrests of illegal aliens with criminal records, 100,000 assaults, 30,000 sex crimes, 4,000 violent killings. I didn't fact check those things because fuck, like who knows, man.
well, I mean, I promise you, CNN would have been all over it if any of those were wrong. So
yeah, I'm sure all the fact checking sites were like, well, they're like half true. It's like, okay, like because
I can't wait for the Snopes article where it's like kind of true, kind of not. All of the statistics he used were completely correct, but you know, he's kind of an asshole, so
but the way he said it wasn't quite right. He wouldn't seem genuine.
Find some way to nitpick it, yeah. Jesus Christ.
He made the point, which I actually kind of disagree with him a little bit here about that there's like I do think that there's a humanitarian crisis, but I don't think it's like a national crisis where he can declare like a national emergency.
No, I don't think. Like honestly, I don't think he even really intends to do it. I think it's more of like a. Have you seen like the PewDiePie meme of like I'm going to say the N word? It's more like that.
Yeah.
He doesn't actually want to do it. It's more of just a do what I want or I might, you know.
Right. I think one, it's like a bargaining tactic, and I do think like legally speaking, he might have some ground to stand on, but it is going to be like challenged immediately.
Yeah, it is.
I think he knows that, but I think he's just kind of trying to use it to get the Democrats to come to the table, really.
Right. And create some leverage where it's like, you know, well, I think what he actually wants to do is like set the stage where he can say, I don't actually have to deal with you.
Right. He's
so that so when he goes to the negotiation table, it becomes a case of like, you need to hurry up with your negotiation or I'm just going to go over you. Here's like your window to get something out of me.
Right. It's like, let's work together and do something together that we both want and we both win. And he said this in press conferences later.
Yeah.
But with this, he has that option of walking away from the table, which is hugely important in a negotiation.
Yeah.
Is that you have to be able to have the ability to walk away. And I think that's kind of what he's doing. He said that he wanted $5.7 billion for a physical barrier. He keeps saying like physical barrier because he wanted a concrete wall. And he said this too, but the Democrats want a metal barrier, and so he's going with that.
Well, from what I understand, it seems like the strategic barriers would actually be better than just a wall anyway. So
yeah, that may be true. I'm not an expert on physical barriers by any means.
Well, I mean, it seems like what they actually want to do with it is to encourage illegal immigration to come through choke points, so it's much easier to catch them.
Right.
As opposed to because the problem is if they set up the wall, it might deter people from coming over because there's going to be a lot of people that just don't because well fuck there's a wall. But eventually it's going to be the case where a lot of people are going to just like climb over the wall and then it's like you didn't have the wall in the first place. Whereas if you have like barriers that encourage movement, in one direction or another, they can focus all of their efforts on those areas, and then you're still catching everyone, but with half the effort.
Yeah, and just like the wall as a deterrent will prevent,
Yeah,
some
absolutely.
people. They'll be like, well, if I can't just walk in, then I'm not going.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
I don't.
the best point I heard was actually against Pelosi, which was like, well, they're just gonna dig tunnels. It's like, yeah, what's harder, Pelosi? Walking across the border or digging a fucking tunnel?
Right. Like the arguments they're using against this are just silly. They're just
Well, it
silly.
almost sounds lazy. It's like, well, they're just gonna do something to get around it if we do it. It's like that's not that's because we're moving against them because they're doing something we don't want them to do.
But
Like
yeah,
you're supposed to, if someone does that, you're supposed to respond
I
with something.
saw like they had like, well, there was the GoFundMe for the ladders. There was like
The
somebody
most abusing out of them, yeah.
somebody cut through two of the steel slats with a saw. And it's like, well, like, yeah, but who's bringing like a battery operated saw powerful enough to cut through these slats through the desert? If they're in such poor conditions and it's so terrible down there, how can they get one of these like steel cutting saws? I can't afford one, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's expensive.
Um,
Maybe if the entire like 6,000 fucking migrant caravan put their pocket
right.
money together, maybe then.
They pool it together and buy a battering ram or some shit. Just a horse that's hollow. Uh,
Comes to the
oh,
fucking border with a giant pinata.
yeah, it's a gift. I saw those memes.
Trebuchets for some reason.
Uh, yeah, for the kids. That's awful. Um,
Gotta get them in somehow.
the I heard I was listening to Ben Shapiro and he kind of I think he portrayed this the best. Like he did the Trump and Pelosi like voice, and he said like it seems to be the negotiations are going like this. Trump's like we're going to build a wall, and then Pelosi's like, but they'll just tunnel underneath it, and then Trump says we'll flood the tunnels, and then Pelosi's like they'll just get rafts, and then Trump says we'll sink the rafts, and then Pelosi says well they could get scuba gear. It's like
They could get scuba gear.
are you guys like this is how I imagine arguments went when I was probably like five. With
Seriously.
other 5-year-olds.
Like, can I just point out that flooding the tunnels isn't actually that bad of an idea because it does force them to build new tunnels and makes new tunnels more risky.
Right.
Like, but fucking, can I just point out where the fuck would the rafts even go in the flooded tunnels? Or do
I,
they need to build like a raft tunnel now?
I don't know if she actually said that, but it sounds like how these negotiations are going.
Well, no, apparently she did actually say something about the scuba gear. So
Oh man.
I'm just
Uh,
like, what the fuck, Pelosi?
yeah, it's like if the wall doesn't stop, if the solution doesn't stop everything, then it's bad. It's like then no solution's ever good enough for anything.
Can I just point out that means we need to throw out the entire welfare system?
Right. Exactly.
Like the whole thing, because look at that homeless guy over there. Get rid of the whole thing. Like, Jesus Christ, guys.
Right. There's a homeless person. It doesn't work. There's somebody who's doing drugs. Doesn't work.
Fuck, get rid of rehab. Rehab needs to go. There's
Yep.
someone still doing drugs. Shit.
Somebody relapsed in AA. Fuck it. Doesn't work.
Not again. Fuck you, AA. Get out of here. You think I need you in my life? No. Fuck's sake.
There were some quotes or lines that I thought were pretty funny. It was only like an 8-minute speech, which is great.
Here?
Yeah, right. Like, I wish he would have brought that up in this speech, but anyway.
Please, Trump, I need you. I need work your Twitter magic and just hammer her over the fucking scuba gear.
We need pictures of Nancy Pelosi in scuba gear.
Please, someone
let's
make
do
that
this. But he
I
said
have
that.
to do that and tweet it to Trump.
He said that, yeah, and then he'll tweet it out. We'll put a liberalist watermark on it or something. Get our name out
Yeah, okay.
there. But he said that.
Leah Bird somewhere in there, like Where's Waldo?
Yeah. But Trump said
And
that
you guys too, obviously.
that Chuck Schumer supported a physical barrier until Trump was elected. I thought that was pretty good. And then he said, I wrote this. I had to go back and rewind the video a few times, but I wrote this word for word. He said, quote, "Some have suggested a barrier is immoral. Then why do wealthy politicians build walls, fences, and gates around their homes? They don't build walls because they hate the people on the outside, but because they love the people on the inside." And I'm like, whoever wrote that speech, like, pretty much nailed that right there.
Yeah. Was that like an interview with Schumer or what?
No, that was during the address. He said
Damn.
that.
I would love for one of these rich assholes that lives in their fucking fancy ass mansion, who with their fancy ass security, to please explain to me why they get fancy ass security and I don't.
Right. Well, he ended the address urging people to call their Congress people and tell them to support to secure the border.
Seriously.
Which is a good idea. Like,
Yeah.
I haven't done it yet, but it's been a busy week.
I live in Texas, so I think I'm good on that one. But
well, yeah, I think we all know how our congressmen are going to vote anyway.
right, but I mean, for the people that don't agree with it, they do need to hear some pressure. Because
Yeah,
if they get enough pressure, they'll magically find a way to change their mind. I promise. So
yeah, that's true. I do think calling your congressman or writing emails does have some impact. Like, you're not gonna, like, an individual person isn't gonna make a phone call or write an email so amazing that they alone are gonna change the congressperson's mind. But
the writing campaign does have effect.
right, if you have enough people sharing the same message, like if they're just sending the same email, like, that's one thing. But that also does just seem kind of like spam.
No, I do like letter writing campaigns though, because it's always personalized. It's always
right.
There's like a level of like actual contact there, as opposed to everyone just spamming you with one email millions of times.
Yeah. The copy, paste, send emails are just kind of lazy.
Yeah, it's lazy and ineffective because it's lazy.
Right. But the best part of this address to the nation was the response to it.
You mean Lurch 1 and Lurch 2?
Right? Like, I watched this, and I told you this earlier. I watched this the day after it happened, and I hadn't seen any memes or anything about it yet. And the first thing that I wrote down when I watched this was that something is off visually.
Can we actually, like, now that we're experimenting with screen share today, I heard. So, can we like pull up that video, please?
I can't, but you might be able to.
Oh, you fucker! Hold on. God damn, you're the host. All right, hold on. You absolute. All right.
You're the co-host. You're supposed to know this stuff.
For fuck's sake. Schumer. First thing came up was Chucky. That's appropriate.
Nailed it.
Schumer, Nancy Pelosi. Okay. Full response. Yeah, it's only like 5 minutes. Here. Wow, the first fucking frame, and I'm already remembering this and be like, oh my god, Jesus. Hold on one sec. All right, we're gonna do a screen share. Can I
I
share
don't
just
know.
this? What is this? All right, stop talking for a second so I can try and. Can you see me? Can you see this stuff?
Yes, I can see your screen, but it's my icon.
Okay. Do you think can the audience see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then we will go ahead and get. Bam. How's it look? Beautiful.
Perfect.
Okay. Tell me if you can hear it.
Nope.
You can't hear it? Oh, you fuck.
Nope. It's just images. But
Well, I think this is just the image is getting the point across, to be fair.
right, like look at the skin and like the orange walls and the American flags, and they're both like crowding that podium. They couldn't have
Why
like
does
their
it
own
look like-
podiums.
Why does this like the first thing it reminds me of? Do you remember that the hotel from oh fuck, what was the name of the movie? It was a Kubrick movie. It was like twins in a bloody elevator. Fuck's sake, what was the name of this?
It wasn't The Shining, was it?
The Shining. Yes, this hallway immediately reminds me of The Shining.
Just expect them to be riding like a little trike three-wheeler down
Dude, can we please have Trump just show up in the middle of this on a tricycle?
there.
Fuck
Well,
you.
it would have been so funny
Give
if
him a
he
right.
like, or you see like the little like doorway back there. If he just like poked his head out and did like the OK symbol or something. Just Pepe the Frog just needs to be like looking out from back there.
Just walks up behind them and gives them both bunny ears.
Yeah, something like
Something that makes it somewhat not ridiculous. I'm just watching this with the sound off because good lord. All right. Oh my
like
god.
just look at Nancy Pelosi like
Why is it still zooming in? There we go. Okay. Cool.
right, they had to like do the like dramatic zoom in, and like her face, we know Nancy Pelosi's like 100 years old. Why does she have so much makeup on that she doesn't look like she has any wrinkles or anything?
I mean, look, she has to feel good about herself somehow. And
Yeah, like
over there just looking like he's from the wants to fucking beat someone.
or he's got to take a big shit.
Yeah, he just looks uncomfortable. Like just genuine. Like, does he have a bad back? Does he need to sit down? Like, what is this?
Well, it's hard for him to stand up that long. He is old.
It's not nice.
I'm not being ageist or anything.
Look, Pelosi looks very spry there. She can handle it.
Right.
He's just sitting there like licking his lips impatiently while standing next to Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, I feel like they should have just picked one or the other. They shouldn't have both done it.
Well, it's like honestly, the way they present themselves, it almost feels like a married couple. Like whenever you see them, they're always together and they're always saying the same thing and bouncing off of each other. I swear to God, they're married. They're like secretly married.
Dun dun dun.
What are you doing with your hands, dude? Jesus Christ. Stop it. It's fucking distracting.
Why? I don't know why she did like the step away. So she kind of like looked at him, but not really.
Just giving him room, man. Just giving him room.
But then she moved back in. She had to.
No, the Schumer, like his presence needs time to like swell and expand before he releases it, and then she can come back in. It's fine. As you can see, Chuck Schumer has the presence of a Greek god. So
Hephaestus, maybe.
that's
The
right.
ugly one.
Heracles.
Hades,
even Odin.
more like it. Yeah, the Greek god Odin. Let's not mix up our mythologies.
He's basically Vishnu.
Well, that's what I got out of it.
Someone stop them before fucking Nancy Pelosi turns into Kali.
Someone in a live chat said
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I said someone in the live chat said he looks like Frankenstein.
I'm
And
just
he
saying,
does.
like, this is so strange. I kind of want to put the sound back on, but I know you guys can't hear it because we're incompetent.
We will
So
figure this out.
we will figure this out. I swear, we're not totally useless. We can do it. We just have jobs.
Right. Jobs and lives, and I'm getting all my like Google Chrome alerts right now for some reason. My computer likes to save them for inopportune moments.
Oh yeah. Have you been
Yeah.
getting all of the Google Hangout notifications where it's like Taiwanese hookers trying to love you long time?
No, but it's like the weekly wrap starts in 30 minutes. Like, well,
Like
that would
you,
have been
like,
good
thanks.
to know an hour ago. But I made it here on time. Yeah, these two knuckleheads, they didn't really say anything like amazing either. They basically said Trump lies, we have the facts, and then they trot out this Trump said Mexico would pay for the wall, which truthfully he did, but I don't really know anybody who was 100%
Like,
believed that.
I thought everyone understood that was like hyperbolic.
Yeah.
Can I point out this is like one of the best memes that came out of that? Good job, Ben Shapiro.
The
All right.
American Gothic, yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
They said that he's hurting innocent government workers who are also veterans. I liked how they threw that in there. And that Trump is manufacturing a crisis. Now, that might be like the most stinging thing in this thing, because that might be partially true. I do think there's a problem. And we've had a couple deaths on the border, but I don't think it's reached like 9/11 or Katrina crisis level.
No, it hasn't. And honestly, I don't like, I would actually be upset if he did actually try to use crisis powers. Like, I don't mind it as a bargaining chip for him to be like, I'll do it. I'll fucking do it. But if he actually did it, that's where I would be like, nah, too far, dude.
So Chuck Schumer also said he pretty much blamed Trump for everything and saying that he's throwing a temper tantrum. This is the narrative that they're pushing.
Well,
He
of course.
said that Trump appeals to fear, not facts, division, not unity. And he said, quote, make no mistake, Democrats and the president both want stronger border security. However, we sharply disagree with the president on the most effective way of doing it.
Right. We want to do nothing. He wants to build a wall.
Yeah.
We're both taking it equally seriously.
You want to do something later, maybe, after we open the government.
Well, I just want to hear them say what their like new like plan is, because it seems to be the case where they're trying to have it both ways. Like, we take border security super seriously. By the way, nothing's wrong, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. And the whole like Trump appeals to fear, not facts, division, not unity. He did
Really?
give out a bunch of facts in his address.
Yeah.
So that was like majorly stepping in it. And like, don't tell me the Democratic Party does not divide people, particularly on race or gender.
Or deal in fear. Like, come on.
Well, yeah.
You don't deal in fear. If you let Trump back in the White House, he's going to destroy America. Everything's going to be burned to the ground.
Well, that it's the party of, if they repeal Obamacare, people are going to die.
Yeah.
Like, well, yeah,
Seriously.
people die every day. It's not Trump's fault. It's not the fault that the government doesn't have government funded health care's fault. If you want if you want freedom, if you want liberty, you need to take care of yourself, or else you don't get it.
Yeah, nut up a little bit.
Yeah. So they called on Trump to end the shutdown, and then they can talk about border security, which is just silly. Like, it's like, give us everything we want, and then we may give you what you want. Like, I think they totally underestimate the power dynamics here.
Yeah.
They somehow think they're in control of everything. They have all the power, and they don't. I do think
No.
it is funny too. He said that Democrats and the president both want stronger border security, and left the Republicans out. It's just the Democrats and the president. I know he is a
Well,
Republican, but
I mean, it's pretty obvious at this point. Like, Trump has figured out that, like, he has, because they're trying to play the negotiation game with a really good negotiator, genuinely. And he's fully aware that no matter how long this drags on, actually, the longer it drags on, probably the better it is for him.
right,
Because there will come a point where the American people, just because they know Trump is fucking stubborn, are going to start saying, look, just give him what he wants so we can get back on track. Give
right.
him what he wants.
Like, look, we're tired. I think the American people are just, in the end, they're not really going to care who is responsible for it. Is it the Trump shutdown? Is it the Schumer shutdown or whatever? They're not going to care. They're just going to be tired of it.
Right.
They're like, figure it out, like, fix it. Give him the $5 billion. It's not that much money in relation to the budget of the United States.
Yeah.
It's not that much money at all.
No, it's like, I think I saw somewhere it was like 0.11% of the budget.
Right.
And I'm just like, guys, can we calm down, please?
Well, then Schumer goes back to making a claim that Trump is manufacturing a crisis to distract from the turmoil in his administration. And the subtext I got from that, now, like, I'm not pretending to read his mind or that I know what he's saying, thinking, or anything, but what I kind of picked up from that was that he was basically saying there's no crisis and this is just a ploy by Trump to distract everyone, which is kind of silly, kind of bad of him to
Disingenuous.
say.
Yeah. It's like, there's no problem. It's like, well, there's kind of a problem. I don't know
Right.
if it deserves a fucking, like, him taking over emergency powers and shutting down the country. Um, but at the same time, that doesn't mean there isn't an issue. Like, he is responding to an issue.
Right. And I think Trump also knows, like, and several commentators have said this as well, that Trump knows that if he doesn't get this wall at least started or funded or built, that he's going to have a hard time getting reelected in 2020.
That might be the real reason why Democrats don't want to budge on it, because they know it's a huge part of his campaign. And if he even gets it started, like, if it's actually the best situation for Trump going to 2020 is actually for the Trump wall to be started but not completed. Right?
Right.
Because then he can put it out there and be like, you need to vote for me or it's not going to get done. Like, we have it partway done, but it's not going to be totally done if you don't vote for me.
Yeah, it'll be yeah, I think he needs this win.
Yeah. This is a really big one. This is like the hardest hardcore part of his base is all raw, raw, raw. Get that fucking wall built.
Yeah, the Ann Coulters and
Exactly.
um,
There's a sizable section of his base that is demanding that he get this wall done.
well, I think there's a lot of just Americans in general that do agree that there does need to be better border security. Um, they may not all agree that a wall's the best or whatever, but they all, like, I think we can all agree border security on the southern border needs to be increased. And it's not because
Yes.
the people on the southern border are brown. It's because the people on the southern border are the ones that are coming in illegally more. People aren't necessarily fleeing Canada, though they might be if their government keeps going the way it does. But the southern border needs to be tightened up, and it's not just to prevent illegal immigration too. It's like a way for like foreign powers to sneak people into the country if you just leave it open. And like my whole thought on this is you need to secure the borders, or if you're not going to have secure borders, if that is something that we want to do, you can't have a welfare state. You can't do both.
Yeah, or at least not to the extent that we currently have it.
Right.
Because I've been saying for a long time, like if we wanted to have, sort of an effective version of the welfare state with similar results, that we would put a lot of focus. I would just scrap what we currently have, especially when it comes to healthcare, and just say we're going to put all of our focus on preventative healthcare. We're going to focus on the earned income tax credits. We're going to focus on like stuff like that, and just no, the rest of it needs to go. No more loopholes. No more. It's going to be very straightforward, very simple. We don't need nearly as many people to run this, but of course, it's not going to be that simple with government. So,
right.
Yeah.
At the end of this, what I thought the big takeaway that I took away from this response was that Chuck Schumer looked like a movie villain.
Yeah, I think even Jake Tapper was making that comment.
Right? He just like he's got like one eye kind of like more closed than the other, and like he's got like his head tilted forward a little bit, like he's about to laugh maniacally, and like a shadow's going to cross his
he
face.
He's snarling the whole time, but like it's Chuck Schumer, so he looks dumb.
Right. Yeah, it's just it looked weird, and I don't know if like Trump's been in front of the camera a long time. He did The Apprentice and reality TV, and he's been in the spotlight, so he kind of knows how to
conduct himself.
Right, work the camera. He knows some of the things that you're supposed to do.
And the things you're not supposed to do, Chuck.
Right.
Well, it also looked almost like the way they had it all set up looked almost like a presidential address.
Yeah, I think that's what they were going for.
It was just looked strange, and I'm like, is this their pitch for a fucking Pelosi Schumer run?
My fellow Americans, your shadow president. I mean, yeah, it did.
Overlords.
They tried to.
Sorry, wait, no, Congressman.
Yeah, I don't know what they like. I'm sure they had either a good reason or they didn't think about it. Those are the only things that I could.
I'm sure they had like some thought process in mind for how this was supposed to go. It didn't. That's not what happened.
No.
I genuinely hope that this isn't what they were shooting for.
No, and like you would think that they would have somebody on their staff or some like this wasn't an impromptu thing. Like I know they had to respond to what Trump said, and they did it fairly quickly.
Yeah,
but they had time to like plan the stage and like that crazy like 1 minute long slow motion zoom in. Like really get those American flags and then slowly zoom in for a long time.
Like maybe it just seemed even creepier because we were doing it with like the sound off. But all I saw was just the slow zoom in on their creepy looking faces.
Freddie, that somehow made it even
creepier. Creepier. Still looking creepier. Can we please stop zooming in now? Please. Nope, we're still zooming in.
Nope, we're going for it.
For fuck's sake, dude. Why are we going all the way in? God damn. Can you guys please just make out on camera and get it over with already? Jesus Christ.
I told you it looked like the start of a terribly awful porno that nobody wanted to watch.
It looks like the start of like Nail and Palin too. the re-nailing or something. Like, Jesus Christ.
The revenge Schumer's revenge. I don't know.
For fuck's
Something
sake.
like that. The Trump bump.
Can that please? Can that please be a fucking real thing?
I put it out there now. Feel free to use that, guys.
I need the Trump bump as a porno stat. Holy shit.
Gross. Those were really all the stories that I had. Thought I had a couple more.
No, that's good, man.
I
think it was just sort of a slow news week.
Yeah, that was really it. I try to save stories up in my phone sometimes, and they don't make it onto the final thing, but I got them all on this week. But yeah, that was really it. There wasn't too much else that went on. Like, thankfully, nobody died at the border this week, so we didn't talk about that.
No dead kids. That's good.
Yes, it's a good week. We need one of those signs, you know. I didn't hear anything.
Dead kids. How many days since the last dead kid at the border?
Right. I didn't hear anything about Antifa, so we don't have the terror, the Antifa threat level. I think we're back
Would you
down
even be
to
able to display it, you non-screen sharing asshole?
No, I can't. I don't have that stuff. That stuff, for some reason,
You
is not
do.
coming up. I do. I normally do, but I don't even have like the chat or nothing. Like, it's just my icon.
How do you not have the chat? All right, this is behind the scenes stuff that we shouldn't be doing here.
And, but I do have one piece of like Antifa news this month and like next month. There's a lot of like rallies and protests and stuff planned for
Sweet.
Portland.
Let's do it.
There's one, it's somebody new. It's not like Patriot Prayer or the Proud Boys. It's somebody who's trying to get into the scene, which is kind of weird to think of it as a scene.
Does that mean we're going to get some on-the-ground reporting there?
No, I already told him I'm not going because of some of the stuff that he said. But his march is it's like a freedom march against communism, and I'm like, hell yes, on board. Like the title. Communism sucks.
I was actually thinking that we should at least consider the possibility of going undercover into Antifa.
Well, we can't do it now. They're listening. No.
oh yeah. I'm sure
they don't see our faces. So they wouldn't know who we were.
Exactly.
Just wear the Liberalist logo on my chest and walk around.
Just have like on the inside of the hood. So if any cops come up, we just like flash it at them. It's like, you know who we are. Peace, bitch.
I haven't really got onto Antifa's radar yet, so I could probably pull that off.
I'd be half tempted to like drive out there for one of these.
Yeah, well, this guy, I told him I wasn't going because he said he basically wants to counter protest Antifa events, and I'm not really like, I'm all for people having their free speech and they can have their rallies. And one of my biggest criticisms of Antifa is that they show up to other people's rallies and start shit, and then the news reports it as if violence just happens at Trump rallies or Patriot Prayer events, as opposed to these events go on. People from the outside, Antifa, show up and start a bunch of shit by throwing things at people and calling them names and then like punching them when they're not looking and shoving them. That's not the narrative. The narrative is violence erupts, just erupts like it's like a fucking volcano or rain.
Volcano of fists, yeah.
But he said that he wants to go to their events and counter protest them and like march around the city. And that's when you get into troubles when you're marching. He also said that he was all for doxing and I was like, you lost me, man. Like, I'm not like, I hate that stuff. And I can understand the sentiment of wanting to fight fire with fire. But if I think it's immoral, then I don't think you should engage in that regardless of whose side you're on. And
Yeah.
I understand you got to put, if you're in a war, you got to put morality aside, but I don't see it as a war necessarily. Like, it's a war of ideas. It has erupted into physical conflict, but it's not like we're in World War I, you know?
Right. I'd prefer to keep it that way.
Yes, me too. So I was just like, no, I can't. And he was totally like, he was cool with it. He's like, yeah, I respect your choice, you know? Like,
yeah.
I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm not going to that, but there'll be, I forget whether there's like another event, something against hate or some silly nonsense like that. Because that's what it always is, you know? It's like, oh, like we're standing up against hate. Oh, there's a yellow vest rally for the constitutional government, January 15th.
Dope.
So,
I swear to God, all these like people that are rallying these marches against hate or whatever, they must be the same people that like back in the old school days of YouTube would just be like, "This video is dedicated to my haters. You're not going to get to me, man. I'm strong. You're not going to get to me."
Well, yeah, there's
your haters can just fuck off, all right? Start like breaking down in the middle of the video.
Oh, I can't see. I don't see any of these other events. They always come up weird times. But there's also a freedom rally, but it's more like a conference than a actual rally. And they're gonna have some speakers. We have another event here that. Do you know who Kat Timpf is? She's like a libertarian Fox News commentator.
Never heard of her.
Okay. Well, she's coming and she's gonna have an event, do like a conference
Is she
thing.
cute?
Yeah, she's good looking. God, I wish I could find it. Darn it, Facebook, you failed me. Screw you, Mark Zuckerberg. But yeah, there's the events coming up soon that might get interesting. I'll try to keep everybody posted as they come up. I'm sure if they're in Portland, like usually if they're in Portland's not the capital of Oregon. It might shock some people. Salem is. If it's in Salem, they're usually Antifa doesn't really show up because it's like an hour drive from Portland, so it's too far for them.
Really shows you their convictions, huh?
Right, but if it's in Portland, like all of Antifa lives in Portland, pretty much.
We're going to stand up to fascists as long as they're in Portland.
Yeah.
As long as they come, we'll fight on the beaches. We'll fight on the shores. As long as those beaches and the shores are all in Portland.
Well, I know there's an event in Washington State, the I-1639 We the People Will Not Comply Open Carry March.
Okay.
I don't think Antifa will be showing up to that. I went to one of those open carry rallies, and Antifa there were some counter protesters on the other side of the street. They were all union members, like from the teachers unions and stuff like that. And they brought out a bunch of kids too, because nothing says brainwashing. I don't know, because they wanted their kids to protest fascism, but the people are pro Second Amendment, are very anti-fascist.
That's kind of the point.
Right. That's exactly the point. But Antifa never showed up. I think I maybe saw like one person dressed in all black.
I really just want one of these like protests from like the Proud Boys or the right. Whenever the Antifa people are like, down with Nazis, down with fascists. I want the other side to like join in. Like just sort of go to their side and be like, yeah, fuck yeah, down with Nazis. Down with fascists. Where are those guys? Let's go beat the shit out of them.
You cut out there a little bit, at least on my end. I don't know if.
Oh, I was just saying, I want to see like the other, like the right wing side, just go to the Antifa side when they start screaming about down with fascism. Because I mean, everybody can agree with that. So, like, I swear to God, the Antifa and all these people were like fucking swinging at windmills. We're like, get rid of all these fascists, but there's no fascists.
Right.
Like,
right. Well,
first you need to find me a fascist, and then we can talk about down with fascists.
some of these events that I've been to, it's basically like Patriot Prayer has an event. We're marching on the waterfront in Portland, Oregon, and Antifa's marching right by side, no police in the middle. I've been to one of these events. So everyone's just kind of like co-mingling, and it's basically Antifa calling like the Patriot Prayer and anybody who's not in Black Bloc a Nazi, and then the Patriot Prayer people calling them Nazis. You're the Nazis. And I was like, I want to support this like cause that we're here for, but this just seems super like childish.
Yeah. I still think the Proud Boys need to take a second and like grow up a little bit, and because I like the message that they're going for, but like the way they're delivering it just doesn't end up looking that much better than Antifa.
Yeah.
From like the normie perspective, they end up looking about the same.
Well, yeah. And from the normie perspective, nobody really cares who threw the first punch. They just care that there was a fight.
Yeah.
And so, like, both Antifa and the Proud Boys, and I was a big fan of the Proud Boys at first, but they both seem like they're just trying to provoke the other side to throw the first punch so that they can fight.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, the Proud Boys are going to win. Like, in a physical fight, and we've seen this before, the Proud Boys will win.
Over and over and over and over and over.
Like, I've seen this in person. The Proud Boys win.
Yeah.
Antifa can't fight. I think Sargon did a video on it where there was some like old Antifa guy from like the 80s who was like, what the hell is going on with these new Antifa people? They can't fight. Or somebody did it, or Tim Pool maybe.
Well, apparently, like what I think I remember what you're talking about, and it was sort of like is someone more talking about some of the composition of the Black Bloc, that people that weren't necessarily Antifa, but he was talking about how we used to have all these like trade union boys, like these big dudes that were like throwing around hammers and shit and like knocking people the fuck out, just running around the place like bashing shit up. And now it's a bunch of now it's a bunch of like soy latte. Can I have an espresso shot in that? Like
the Starbucks drinking.
Yeah, fuck boys. Like
skinny jean wearing.
Yeah, skinny jean wearing fuck boys. Like
yeah, Portland's full of those guys. So, and on the Patriot Prayer side, or the Proud Boy side, or whoever you want to call it, when I've been there, like these people are like the people I grew up with, and I grew up like working class. Like my family wasn't super poor, but we weren't like rich, which I think most people are that way. But I grew up around like guys who drove truck, and like one of my parents' friends was a plumber. My mom and stepdad worked in a manufacturing plant. And they actually did very well for themselves. My stepdad became general manager, and I've worked in manufacturing plant. So I currently do. So I've been around these like the working class, the working class, and Antifa is not the working class. Like the working class are like Patriot Prayer. They're the guys who go out and they like to go smoke and they like to have some beers and
Pretty sure if you want to call yourself the working class, you need to have a job.
right. Right.
So all of Antifa has been immediately disqualified.
Yeah, you're not political activism isn't it's work, but it's not like working class. It's not a working class thing to
No,
do.
okay, let me qualify that. You need a job that produces money.
Well, typically it's like a job that produces a good.
No, I'll accept produces money.
Yeah.
Like, service industry jobs don't necessarily produce a good, but
That's true, but like when I think of working class, I'm thinking of like well, I guess you could have like a plumber might be considered service industry, but
a
I'm
plumber
thinking,
also probably wouldn't be necessarily working class.
well,
Like,
yeah,
it's blue collar, but that dude probably has some money.
yeah, if he's a good plumber, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, one of the guys I talked to at an event, he worked construction. Like he hauled around bags of concrete all
Hmm.
day. And like he wasn't like huge, he wasn't a huge, but he was like solid,
Yeah.
And they were like all the guys I met there were that way. Um, I don't mean to this next statement, I don't mean to deride anybody, but they kind of seem like not like white trash, but kind of just like I don't know, the kind of the people that go and hang out at like the corner bar regularly
Do they
and
perhaps go to monster truck rallies?
perhaps they go to gun
Yeah,
shows,
by people.
they go camping, they go they take a bunch of beer, a bunch of guns and go out into the woods.
Who says white people don't have a culture?
Right? That's badass.
Yeah.
I would go do that now if I could, but it's a little cold. Darn it, I'm not working class anymore.
Fucking yeah, I would go. Like, I want to go to your monster truck rally, but I didn't bring my jacket, and
I don't have earplugs.
like I really need my scarf and my earmuffs. So just give me like 2 hours.
When it goes till like 9, man, I want to be in bed by then. Um, but yeah, I haven't. I'll keep everybody posted on Antifa, what they're kind of up to. At least I think Portland's a good kind of uh,
Barometer.
barometer for what Antifa's doing. I haven't seen a lot of Antifa activity elsewhere, but it's still alive in Portland.
Yeah.
um, and it usually dies down in the winter too, because people don't want to go out in the rain and the snow and um, all that good stuff. So in the spring and the summer, we'll see more of it, I'm sure.
We need to
Especially
protest. It's not nice enough out.
as we get closer to the 2020 election too, we'll see more of it.
Yeah.
But that's all we had for tonight. Unless you had any stories you want to talk about.
No, I think we're good.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening to the weekly wrap with the USA Liberalists. Please remember to like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Tell your friends about us. We do this
No, don't tell your friends about us. Don't say shit.
secret.
Don't
Yeah,
say a goddamn word to your friends.
we'll be
Or I will
secret
find
about
you
it.
and kill you.
We'll be like that secret thing on the
Right.
internet.
We don't. None of your friends need to know about this. Fuck them.
Don't tell anybody. Oh man, he threw me off. I had a spiel going. Um, yeah, we do this live stream every Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific. If you click the bell, you'll be notified. Hopefully, 30 minutes before the show starts. So be sure to do that. We share it on Facebook. Go to the USA Liberalists on Facebook, give our page a like, and join in the conversation. We're always looking for more people to share our freedom-loving principles with. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.